This review is written as a long-time fan of the franchise that watched Dragon Ball from the beginning, and considering this is a continuation of an existing franchise, it won't be possible to evaluate it based on without that knowledge. I will be using Japanese terms mainly because I watched it in Japanese. Whenever I know the English term, I try to use the English term. Dragon Ball Super is a casual continuation of Dragon Ball and can be considered filler since it takes place within the time span of the defeat of Majin Buu from the anime Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Z Kai, and the manga Dragon Ball, and before Goku meets Up. Meaning, if you watch Dragon Ball Super expecting any high stakes that matter or real consequences that affect how characters will act at the end, you're watching the wrong anime. More so, the ending of Dragon Ball has been out for 3 decades, meaning unless you are new to Dragon Ball, there's no reason to watch Dragon Ball Super unless you are starving for more Dragon Ball. So in terms of tension, Dragon Ball Super has nothing to offer, even if the universe is stated to be threatened to be destroyed, because everyone who watches the previous show knows how it ends. Dragon Ball Super can be described as a Dragon Ball series with the flaws of all previous Dragon Ball series, but with none of the strength. It has the repetitive and unoriginality of Dragon Ball Z's story. Most of the characters are useless, like in GT. Fanservice and homages have higher priority over consistency and following the rules of the series, including its own, like in Super Dragon Ball Heroes. On top of that, Dragon Ball Super has its own flaws that ruin the show further. For example, what is the story of Dragon Ball Super anyways? If you read any fanfiction in the past decade, you can predict the story of Dragon Ball Super pretty easily. First arc focuses on a cat named Bills, who is a god of destruction, who Toriyama pulled off his ass like Majin Buu by never mentioning it until the very moment. Like in Battle of Gods movie, he dreamed about a Super Saiyan god of all things, which is also a prophecy. The entire premise of this arc is a plot hole, since it can't be fulfilled in other timelines, because Dragon Ball is a show with multiple types of them. The movie was already a waste of time, with its slice of life filler that went nowhere, but as a story arc it dragged out to 12 episodes. The second arc is another movie rehash and basically filler and filler, since Frieza comes back for the billionth of time to lose again. Since there's a more powerful god of destruction and his more powerful teacher around, there's nothing to worry about, even after Frieza became stronger than Goku and Vegeta with his own Pilot Sword power-up. The Universe 6 arc, which can be considered the best arc, is a pointless tournament which only exists to introduce the Super Dragon Balls, which are always collected off screen and set up another tournament. It is just a discount as about tournament arc from Dragon Ball Z, which is filler, only that the filler arc in Z had meaningful stakes. The fight in the tournament were better in the manga. The fights against the final boss was pretty underwhelming. The only highlight was Goku using an old technique. He retired. Another filler inside filler arc is the Future Trunks arc, since nothing of that arc affects the main timeline in Super itself except having got of everything. Early in the arc, Goku receives a plot device that would end the arc immediately whenever he wants. And there's a guy they can ask everything because he knows everything. But instead they waste their time by being stupid and not doing the obvious. The premise is also stupid because the enemy is an evil Goku who can turn into a pink Super Saiyan and can time travel, and in reality is just an evil Kaioshin who got salty. The worst arc in the franchise is the Tournament of Power. Goku is shown to be the dumbest character, forgetting everything he learned over the course of the series and being a complete asshole. It also shows Vegeta's role in the story the best. He is still obsessed with Kakarot and both take turns fighting. Then Vegeta would get beat up and then he has a realization. Only you can defeat him, Kakarot. Kakarot, we can only win together. Like in the manga and the movies, Goku and Vegeta keep doing the same mistakes over and over. By itself, homages and Easter eggs aren't a problem. By itself, fan service isn't a bad thing, but that is all Dragon Ball Super can do. The iconic final flash scene got rehashed twice in Dragon Ball Super, taking away the magic from the Cell Saga. People still use outdated techniques that makes no sense to be used, such as the special beam cannon. Piccolo still needs to charge for a long time instead of using the improved version he used against Nappa. Worst of all is that Piccolo still uses that technique during the tournament where killing is illegal, which makes no sense because the special beam cannon, like the Kiazang, is a killing technique. Many characters got ruined too by the writers, by flanderizing their character traits or writing them like fans see them. Like Goku is an incompetent father and husband that can't think of anything but fighting and food, even going as far as knowingly putting others in danger. Vegeta is still obsessed with Goku. Piccolo is a girl for everything of the Son family. He is Pan's babysitter and Gohan's personal meat shield. Not a single character in Dragon Ball Super is well written or interesting. Flanderizing aside, characters got ruined in other ways too, like Trunks becoming a Final Fantasy reject character who cries all the time. His character being nothing like his original, more serious and hopeful self, who experienced 17 years of the android's wrath, and after losing everything he almost got over it immediately. Goku has become too strong for the writers, so in order to give others a chance he became stupid to the point he forgot basic things like keeping his guard up in the tournament where universes supposed to be at stake. Regarding Goku, before Super started, Goku trained already under several gods and surpassed them. Dragon Ball Super devalued that by introducing a god that is far above Goku and has to obtain a godly power to even put up a fight. With this, the writers devalued Goku's accomplishment in prior arcs, since he needed the power of a god, but now he can't even beat gods with godly powers, and on top of that, characters he surpassed managed to catch up or even surpass him. Those characters don't even use godly powers themselves. To put it simply, there was no point of Goku obtaining godly powers in long term since it only existed to satisfy builds. Fan service in general is plenty in Dragon Ball Super and it aren't good. We get Vegito, but with the cost of ruining what made Vegito special. We get female Super Saiyans under the cost of ruining the efforts of established characters. We see Roshi fight in exchange of ruining the power scaling and breaking the rules of the series. That is why Dragon Ball Super fights can't be taken seriously. Nothing makes sense, and anyone can be stronger than anyone through off-screen training. They can become literally as strong as the writers want. And while that can be said about any series, if it doesn't seem believable, then it isn't well done. So there's a difference between a well-told story and a badly written one like Dragon Ball Super. Heck, there is even a character that is literally a gender swap of an iconic movie villain. You might hear often that the animation is amazing, but that's only partly true. The early part of Dragon Ball Super looks like it was animated by a kid using Microsoft Paint. The fights look stiff too, and barely any thought put into it. The last arc, which is claimed to have the best animation just because of the art style. Unique animation barely exists and most of it is repeated. Goku vs Jiren is just the same punches and kicks. only that Goku's hair matches the transformation he is currently using. Episodes 129 to 131 have almost no original animation. Music is fine, but early on, what you see on screen and the music don't match. Most of the soundtrack is also from Dragon Ball Kai, if not all. They didn't even remix it like they did with the original Dragon Ball soundtracks, like Dragon Piccolo's theme. Another problem is characters stating the obvious a lot of times. Like during the Tournament of Power, we see people in the bench info dumping what other characters are doing, because either the animators suck at displaying what happens on screen, or they do both, like Goku turns Super Saiyan Blue and someone has to say, "Goku went Super Saiyan Blue!" Speaking of Super Saiyan Blue, that transformation got spammed against literal fodder, even against Krillin and Android 17, which should be far below Goku's base power, even if Goku can hold back a significant portion of his power after transforming. It devalues the power up that's supposed to be stronger than anything we have seen so far. One last criticism are the transformations in general. They are all palette swaps. Golden Frieza, Final Form Frieza but gold. Super Saiyan God, base form Saiyan with reddish pink hair. Super Saiyan Blue, a blue haired Super Saiyan. Super Saiyan Rose, a pink haired Super Saiyan. Ultra Instinct, white haired Super Saiyan God. AKA a Saiyan in his base form with white hair. And it will go on and on with even more. Overall, it is impossible for me to recommend this despicable series to anyone. Read fanfiction instead and you get the same result.